all join me, please, in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. And if you'll please join us in a moment of silent reflection. Thank you all very much. We will move on to the approval of our minutes from our August 8th meeting. Council members, you all have the minutes from that evening. Do we have any changes or do we have a motion to approve as submitted?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the minutes as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please respond by saying aye. 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 Any opposed? Okay. At this time, we will open the floor for citizen comments. If you have something you'd like to state for the public record, please come down front and use the podium. Please speak into the microphone. Be sure to state your name for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. So at this time, we will go on and open the floor for citizen comments for public record. Going once, twice. We will close the floor for citizen comments for public record, and we will move on to our first presentation of the evening. I'm going to ask Sheriff Armentrout to come forward to tell us about the Life Skills Camp that took place for 2022 in August. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you guys for having me here tonight. I do have the AO for this coming up later. I won't be here for this, so if you have any questions regarding that, feel free to ask. But I just wanted to give you all an update about the camp we did this year. It's the second time that we held the camp, and it was a great success. This seems to be a topic that has hit home with the kids and the parents. Both years, the parents have asked me when we do the camp, hey, can you have a parents' corner because I need to know how to do this or I need to know how to do that. So real briefly, the camp, for those of you who don't know, is to teach kids things that they normally wouldn't get in school or sometimes in their home life. And we've taught them things from archery to how to tie a fishing lure, how to change a tire, jump start a car. We do fire prevention techniques and skills. We have, this year we had outdoor power equipment, how to start weed eaters and chainsaws and so forth. And it's just things that they normally don't get. But I've been overwhelmed both years when I did this camp about how the community and the departments at Radford City, the city itself, city council members have helped with not only sponsoring the camp, and I'm going to read again this year the list of sponsors, which obviously we couldn't do it without it, but the volunteers that we have are crucial to do this. We had 120 kids sign up for the camp, and it was absolutely free, didn't cost a penny. And then we have to break those kids up into age groups. We broke them up this year into 3 age groups, kindergarten through 2nd grade, 3rd grade through 6th grade, and then 7th through a senior in high school. And we tried this year to do it a little different and hone the skills for the age groups. And then when we had our competitions, they were honed towards the age groups. So if you won a prize, you weren't competing against 3rd graders competing against high school seniors. We tried to make it a little fair, and it seemed to work out very well. So we had 120 kids sign up. We had 95 show up for registration. We had 6 or so come the next day to say, I'd like to do it. So we let everybody into camp this year. Unfortunately, last year we turned a few kids away, but we learned a lot, and we tried to make it where everybody could come and enjoy the camp. I think we had 15 or 20 kids from outside of Radford. Last year I tried to keep it just to Radford. We did open it up a little bit this year to kids from out of the area, and they participated as well. So the volunteers, huge round of applause for the volunteers. If we do the camp again next year, they're obviously crucially important for herding all those kids and getting them where they need to be safely and make sure they enjoy what they're learning. We did have 2 guest speakers this year. I reached out to Carrie Earnhardt, who is Dale Earnhardt's oldest son. I don't know him very well, but I've met him through a friend of a friend. He was all over it. He actually does an Earnhardt outdoor type business, so he was all over it. He came and dedicated most of his Saturday to helping the kids and going around to each venue and checking that out. He gave a little speech to the kids about the importance of learning these skills. And then on the prize day, last year, Coach Nichols from the RU basketball team did a talk. He was unable to with camps this year, so Jesse, I reached out through you to Bud Foster to talk to the kids about winning and losing, because some kids went away with some really valuable prizes and some kids did not. That's a part of life, to learn how to lose gracefully and how to win. So thanks again to Bud for doing that. I did try to get him in the dunking booth, but maybe next year.
That was a valid try.
So thanks for that. We had donated this year $8,248 worth of prizes that we divvied out to the kids.
That's great.
So we had some very happy kids leave. Some of them were interested in, what do I do with a lawnmower if I live in an apartment? I said, well, you could always sell it. That's a life skill too, learn how to use what you have. But I just want to close by reading off the list of sponsors, because it is quite impressive. And I told the folks at the camp, when you do business in Radford, 90% of these are from Radford. Please thank these businesses for helping out. Every year when I do this, that's the worst thing I hate to do, to ask for money, but they've opened their pocketbooks and been very helpful. So starting first was Mullins Funeral Home. Once again, they were the title sponsor. As soon as I talked to Michelle, sure, here you go. First NRV Credit Union was responsible for all the T-shirts. First Baptist Church this year, we had some hiccups last year with food. First Baptist Church cooked everything and provided meals to all the campers, most of the parents, and all of the counselors and volunteers that were there. Knock and Hook donated the archery grand prizes again, so that was probably well over $1,500 worth of prizes. Sam's Brothers Incorporated, Sal's, Dean's Body Shop, First Street Properties, Now and Then Forever Collectibles, Harvey Chevrolet, JES Towing, Lowe's, Aaron's, Advance Auto Parts, O'Reilly Auto Parts, Napa. Snap-on was on board again. They were one of the title sponsors last year. It amazes me, every year they've given thousands of dollars worth of stuff. They actually did a giveaway too for the parents and volunteers that were there. Rural King, Walmart, John and Betty Johnson, Patrick and Angela Moore, Mike Johnson, Realtor, Sherwin Williams, Radford Welding, Radford Police Department, Radford Fire Department, Radford Recreation Department, 11 West, Hunters Helping Kids provided the ice cream again, Department of Wildlife Resources, Anthony Blackburn Taxidermy, Nestle Rod on the New, Ship on Site, VFW, Post 776, Food Lion, Food City, Radford Drug, and Southwest Outdoor Power Equipment. The one thing that I was a little surprised about, one of the most commented segments I had this year was about flag etiquette. The VFW put on a little mini booth to show the kids the meaning of the flag, how to respect the flag, how to fold the flag. One of the kids came up to Gary and was so touched. I think Gary gave the camper a flag. So that was very interesting to see the pride and respect that they showed for the flag. And we have every intention of doing it again next year. And I appreciate you guys with the AO to take the donated money and be able to help pay for the camp. So any questions you have about that or anything, I'm happy to field it. But thank you guys so much.
Well, thank you, and thank you to all the volunteers and sponsors. They deserve a round of applause for that, I think. Thank you so much. Lots of exciting things happening in Radford. One of the things coming up that's not just a Radford event, but a nationwide event is Proclamation for Constitution Week. The week of September 17th through the 23rd is recognized as Constitution Week, and the Daughters of the American Revolution set aside this week to formally commemorate the importance of this document that is the foundation of our liberty, freedom, and all of the rights that we so enjoy here in this nation, this Commonwealth, and this community. This is the 235th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution, and we have some representatives from the DAR with us this evening. We're going to ask you all to come forward in just a minute, but first, I'm honored to read this proclamation. Whereas September 17th, 2022 marks the 235th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designating September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week, now therefore be it proclaimed by the Council of the City of Radford, Virginia, that the week of September 17th through the 23rd be known as Constitution Week. And we ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties. Remember that lost rights may never be regained. I'd like to make a motion that we adopt this proclamation today. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Would you all come on down from the DAR? And would you all join me downstairs or down on the floor to present this proclamation? Come right up front here. Yes, please. Front and center. We're happy to have you.
You know how it works?
Well, I was recording and not taking
Well, he got all of that then. Thank you all so much. There's your proclamation. Thank you so much for all you do to help recognize the Constitution. So thank you.
We appreciate you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. It's good to see you. Thank you. And I'm glad we got you here. It's good to see you. Well, I'm glad you made it down here. Okay, we are now going to open the floor for a public hearing, but before we do that, I'm going to turn to David and Melissa to talk a little bit about this cell tower replacement, what we're looking at, and where it's going to take place.
For tonight, we've got a good number of exhibits. Nearly every item on the agenda has got something, so I'll turn the lights down. I wanted to show you all the location. Right off of Prospect Street, there are two cell towers that the city has, and one of them is the Guy Tower. It's the lower tower. The tower in the process, U.S. Cellular, T-Mobile was looking to update the equipment on the tower. One of the requirements, anytime somebody that's on the tower, on any of our towers, wants to upgrade, they have to do an analysis. That analysis came back that had some possible deficiencies down the road. So they wanted to go ahead and do an update on it. As you all know, that tower is pretty old, been around for at least 30, 35, 40 years now. So the plan is to replace the tower with a new monopole, no guys on it, and it will stand a good test of time. They're going to move all the equipment off the old tower onto the new one, remove all the guys that are there. The area that this will occupy, here's to give you an idea of where this is, Prospect Street. You can barely make out my pointer, but this is Prospect. Wildwood Park is just the left of the slide, the two water tanks above it, and then this is the tower location. It's 1,800 square feet, and tonight's public hearing has been advertised. Since we are leasing land, anytime you lease or sell property, you have to have a public hearing. We have not received any comments at this point, but
Real
You
quick
open the floor.
question on this. So they will actually install the new tower before they take the old one down, correct?
Correct.
And will it be taller, or is it the same
It's-
height?
No,
It's about the same time?
No, it's a little bit taller.
Okay,
But it's not a whole lot, 'cause it's
It's
a little
not.
further up on the hill, so that makes it a
Okay.
little taller too.
okay.
That's about a 450 by 450 square. That's being reserved. 1,600.
It's 1,800 square feet. Uh-huh.
Yeah, about 400.
Any further questions?
Right.
Okay, thank you all so much. At this time, we will open the floor for our public hearing. So anyone that has a question or comment regarding this replaced cell phone tower, please come on down front to the podium, state your name, and let us know what you think.
Also, the city does have equipment on that tower. They would move all of that over, and that does take care of some issues that we've had with other towers, and we can expand. We've got full rights to be able to expand on the tower once it's completed and turned over to us.
And do we have an approximate date when they're going to try to have this completed?
They'll start their, they've already done their preliminary work, so once they get the go-ahead from us, they'll begin working on the project. I don't expect it to take any longer than 6 months.
Okay. Seeing no one coming forward, we will now go on and close our public hearing. Thank you all very much. Council members, under old business, we do have some vacancies on several of our boards and commissions. Do we have any nominees for our Workforce Development Board? Yes. Is your mic, would you mind putting on your microphone and turning it on, actually? That way, not only can the folks in here hear you, but the folks that are streaming us can hear you. Online worldwide. Just flip that little switch. Yeah, there you go.
Test, test. Yep,
You're good.
Live. Okay. Yeah, the question I had was, I looked for some documentation on what the Workforce Development Commission was and couldn't find that anywhere.
So that is a group we do work with. Would you like to share a little more information about the board?
This is a group that they look to provide jobs. They set up job fairs for us. They work with all the local companies and community colleges and other universities in setting up jobs for the area.
Is it the state? Is it part of the state?
It is state
Okay.
state driven.
So
we
just a
contribute
friendly
small amount of
amendment.
money.
It's workforce is one word.
Yeah.
That's why I couldn't find it.
Okay.
Just making sure. I thought it might be a local
No,
group.
no, this is not a separate group, but it is the local iteration.
Yeah,
of
this
that
is
group.
Virginia Workforce.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
This is a much more important board than it once was. Actually, because we are short on. Our workforce nationwide is really running short of people. And so how we recruit people back into the workforce, because there are a lot of people that have moved out of the workforce. And how do you move them back into something that will be contributing to the work of the country? That's very important. So we really need to concentrate on putting the right people on that.
For those of you familiar, Marty Holliday's been here before. It is her shop. Virginia Workforce has had a couple of different names over the years. That's the one they've landed on for the last few years. Very successful programs, and our involvement has been very, very helpful. They did help us extensively through pandemic with our employers, as well as helping us as a city with resources.
Okay. So do we have any nominees at this point?
You know, I'm sitting here thinking that this might be a good position to reach out to our friends at the university about, because they have, you know, we certainly want to enhance channels between the university and job retainment right here. So that it might be a good idea for us to table this and see if we can't make some connections and see if anybody has any ideas from.
How many openings are there?
Just the one.
Just one seat.
Do we know who previously held that seat?
Food City.
He's the
Brooks?
Brooks,
Yeah.
okay,
And he's left Food City. So.
okay.
And then we have another one.
It's Kim.
Is it Mark Hack on there?
Mark's on there too.
Yeah. So we,
I will move that we table this one until our next meeting so
And-
that we can get some names together.
Absolutely. No, it sounds good.
This is a key committee.
Are there any nominees for our Beautification Commission?
Not had anyone reach out about that one.
They will have a presentation for us at the next meeting, and it would be great if we have any additional names at that point in time. And then the Board of Zoning Appeals is a little different. We would make a nomination, but that would actually go to the circuit court judge for appointment. Do we have anyone to nominate for the Board of Zoning Appeals?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
And Melissa is going to help to make sure that I get this straight. So, as you all know, Tracy Howard, who served on Planning Commission, recently stepped down from Planning Commission. Bart Castleberry, who recently served on the BZA, has taken his place. And so, because Tracy has stepped down from the Planning Commission and Bart has taken his place, that leaves 2 potential appointment slots for the BZA. One of those is supposed to be a Planning Commission member, and the other is a citizen rep. Bart was the citizen rep. Tracy has agreed to slip into the position of the citizen rep. And so that would leave us with 1 position that needs to be filled, which we will be discussing at our next Planning Commission meeting. So I will move that we appoint Tracy Howard as our citizen rep to the BZA.
Second that.
So we have a nomination and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And what we may want to do is ask Bart if he would like to continue on as the Planning Commission rep, since
But,
he's serving on that.
If I
So-
can just
Yes.
interrupt, I apologize, but typically that, the planning commission rep typically is a senior
Okay.
member of planning commission, so
Okay,
we're going to get that with you at the next meeting.
okay.
And
Sounds good.
We will be
That
meeting
has
next
to be
Monday.
approved. That has to be approved by the circuit court judge, right?
Correct.
Okay. So that takes care of our appointments for now. Hopefully at our meeting on the 26th, we will have a little more. If anyone here is interested in serving on the Workforce Board or on the Beautification Commission, please contact one of us or somebody in the city office, and we'll be glad to take your name for consideration. We appreciate that. Under our next piece of business, we are looking at some properties. Price Williams LLC has requested vacation of several public parcels of property that are adjacent to several of their properties throughout the city. There are 5 parcels along Tyler Avenue, 1 on Berkeley Street, 1 on Arlington Avenue. We've reviewed these previously when we had our public hearing on June the 13th. There were no objections brought forward at that time. Staff has reviewed it, and we've continued to evaluate this. There are no conflicts. We did appoint a 3-member board of viewers at the council meeting on June 8th. The board reviewed the right-of-way vacations on August 19th, found no conflicts or inconveniences would result from the vacations. So we are looking at easements for utilities. And I think all of these are marked with the little yellow dots on there. You can see the 5 on Tyler Avenue, 1 on Berkeley Street, and 1 on Arlington. The one on Berkeley is next to Commonwealth Press. The one on Arlington, I believe, is right in front of the little school that was constructed out of the old building that was present there. And then, of course, all the others are in various places along Tyler Avenue. So having said that, we have 2 pieces of business tonight. We need to make a motion to receive the report from the Board of Viewers. Do we have a motion to do so?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And if everybody is comfortable with this, or if you have any questions, now would be the time to ask them. If not, we will go on and ask the city attorney to draft the ordinance. Any questions, concerns? Okay. We would like to make a motion? Yeah?
I'll move. that
We have a
ask
motion to ask the city attorney to draft the ordinance. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So just adjacent to this property would be the Tyler Avenue to East Main Street Transportation Project. This is going back at least a decade as we've been talking about it and working toward this. The first phase of the Tyler Avenue to East Main Street Corridor Project is nearing construction. And so that will actually enhance. We'll wait till that comes up.
It's the one that's got exhibit ABC.
I can just let you know, planning, design, and development of bid documents for the corridor have been underway for the last 3 years. Of course, the pandemic has slowed things up a little bit. The initial phase is just about 1,000 feet of roadway, so it's not going to take us as far as we would like, but it'll get us started moving toward, starting at Tyler Avenue, moving toward East Main Street through there. And Dr. Harshberger was the only member of council that was serving at the time. A lot of this was finalized, and the plan was to try to create a pathway for this new connector that would allow for best access from the adjacent properties and possible development of housing and other structures along that property. The project cost is estimated at about $2.91 million with 80 to 98% VDOT funding, depending on the element of the project, and Whitman, Reckert, and Associates has been the engineer. So David, we're in pretty good shape right now. We have to take a look at the right-of-way from Summit Development and then look at the Ordinance 1769 to move forward with that property. So what comments do you have for us on this?
As you mentioned, this project's been going on for a long period of time. It eliminates that kind of awkward connection to Auburn Avenue that has been in existence since Tyler Avenue was constructed. This now lines it up perpendicular to Tyler Avenue. It does a couple of things for us. One, it not only it enhances a road issue, it gives us the long-term connection ultimately down to East Main Street. They're about the alignment where you go into High Meadows. There are 3 pieces of this property. The first segment is from Tyler Avenue to roughly the intersection just to the right. Jenny, if you want to pull that first exhibit up. Go one more. Okay, that's not highlighted. Okay, that's fine. You just go back to the original. So the first section goes from Tyler Avenue to about where you see the two pieces of road come together. The second exhibit is the kind of the connection itself, and then the third is where the road connects back over to the original Auburn Avenue. The old Auburn Avenue at the end of the project would be abandoned and go back to the developers. It does give us some nice property development along Tyler Avenue, solves our transportation issues, and gives us a long-term corridor development. Maybe a long time before that road is all the way through, but we're start planting the seeds for what might happen down the road. So we do recommend moving forward with this. VDOT has been very anxious. As you know, this is project money that was given many, many years ago. The road's been moved around a number of times. This is where the final location has been. And it's 95% approved by VDOT. They will move to the 100% once the right-of-way acquisition is approved, hopefully by you all tonight. And we will start the process of getting the project out to bid for next year.
Okay.
Dick, out of sheer curiosity, when we're talking about long-term, 10, 15, what are we thinking for the ultimate
I'm
connection?
afraid, based on how long it's taken to do this part of it, but depending, a lot of it depends on money being available.
Well, that was what I was going to say. A lot of it is the smart scale financing for it, and that's one of our big challenges because, again, kind of to the point I was making with the previous council, if I'm not mistaken, the road kind of meanders down. It doesn't go in a straight line down to...
It just
That's right.
follows the highlight. It does kind of meander down. It does open up the front part of the property, just in case you're interested in the zoning aspect. Front part of the property is all zone business. The middle part's got some multifamily, R3, and then all of that down below is R1 single family, and hopefully we will see some single family development. It's a large area to
one of the
develop
things
many acres.
that delayed this, I guess I was responsible for delaying it as much, because their first design was a straight line from Tyler Avenue to Main Street. And that was all cut and fill, cut and fill, cut and fill, which means you would lose the marketability of that land. And you wouldn't be able to get the frontage on it. You also would create a speedway across there because it was a straight line. So we said no, and they went back to the drawing board, and boy, they were gone a long time. But what you will see on the plan now, it meanders along, it follows the contours of the earth, and it minimizes the cut and fill, which means we have good frontage the whole way along that new road that'll go through there. which will be great for development there and would give us a whole new area there to develop.
No, I think it's going to be good. And to answer your question too, I think what could potentially happen after we get started on this end is the other end from Main Street might actually be the next piece, and then it would be a matter of trying to get the two together at some point,
I
because
think
that
so,
would make the most sense for.
And to answer your question, I would hope in 3 to 5 years, we could pursue another phase of it. If we can go into this, doing chunks at a time, and then certainly within 10 to 15 years, I would hope that we'd be all the way down there. That will, on the broader picture, and Dick, Dr. Harshberg, you'll remember this, one of the reasons for this road, it also took some of the pressure off of Jefferson Street, where you had so many cars going, you're able to go all the way into Radford, down Jefferson, and it was a safety improvement. We haven't focused in on as much on that, but that is an important aspect to remember. Is Jefferson Street, it does the safety, and you're not having to come all the way back around to High Meadows. So when you're looking at the housing, the steep slope, so when you're looking at housing, you got this housing and then the support that it can give to the ultimate development of High Meadows. So again, this is the short start to a long-term fix, but it does have some short-term benefits.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Okay, we have two pieces of business we have to take care of tonight. We need a motion to accept the right-of-way from Summit Development, and understanding that that is actually a swap of property, that the abandoned portion of Auburn, upon completion of this portion of the project, will go to Summit Development. So do we have a motion to accept that right-of-way?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We also now need to consider Ordinance 1769, and this is conveying the easement from Summit Development. It talks about a few pieces in here for water and sewer, right-of-way, and all of the pieces that we'll be responsible for. Council, do we have a motion to approve Ordinance 1769?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Having heard 4 affirmative votes, we can dispense with a second reading if so desired. Do we have a motion to dispense with a second reading?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right. Up next, we are looking at Norwood Square parking lot. At one time, many years ago, this was the bank downtown, First and Merchants Bank, and then it was a whole host of other things over the years, and then it was an abandoned bank building for a while, and it was purchased by Price Baker LLC. The building was torn down and a parking lot was constructed, and we had an initial 20-year lease on the property since 1997. That expired in 2017. Then a 5-year lease was granted that went through August of 2022. They've been kind enough to extend the time as we consider an additional 5-year lease. This would be at a fixed rate of $3,800 per month. That is a slight increase, a little bit less than 10%. The property owners pay the real estate taxes on the property, and it provides the option of right of first refusal to purchase at the end of the 5 years or renew for another 5-year term. Council members, you all have had the lease. Do you have any questions?
I'm surprised that it's a 5-year because the last time they asked for a 10-year, we only gave them a 5-year. The 10-year lease would make it a negotiable instrument, which would be useful to them, but they have only asked for a 5 year, so we'll just act on that.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments? So this is an important part, and it's a little bit complicated as we talk through this because we are working on East Main Street through this district, trying to determine some improvements for downtown, and this is an important component of that, so we do need to consider that as we look at this lease and then where we will be in 5 years and making a decision on where we'll go from that. So do we have a motion to approve Ordinance number 1771 to extend the lease for an additional 60 months?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Having heard 4 affirmative votes, we can dispense with a second reading if so desired. Do we have a motion to do so?
So do.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So we are also looking, we've got a lot of business to take care of tonight. This is a right-of-way vacation request from the Clarence E. Sowers Estate. This is the vacation of an alleyway between Oakland Avenue and Forest Avenue. Do we have any imagery of that we want to put up tonight?
Thank you.
You may recall, we worked on this parcel of property a little while back. There was some things that were an issue with the plat on the property for the estate. There is a right-of-way that goes between the garage and the house. The city has no need for that. We're not sure at what point it got established, but certainly have no issues with moving forward with vacation. You do have to go through your normal process, and that is schedule public hearing, and then ultimately board of viewers and valuation. So I do recommend you move forward tonight with a public hearing, which could be held on September, the next meeting is the 26th.
Any questions, council? Charlie, I don't think you were on here when we talked about all this. So, yeah, this was something that was discovered that they didn't know they didn't own, and we didn't know we owned it. So it was one of those situations where we said, oh, okay. And as David was saying, it kind of runs between the house and the garage. So that's complicated. And as you can see here, these roads, you can see where it kind of might have connected up, but we have several roads, several unimproved roads through there. It's kind of a mishmash of different roads in that neighborhood where a lot comes together. And I'm sure at one time it probably was planned to connect all the way from there down to Main Street or something along that line.
There's been no traffic on that, has there? No.
It's
none.
not a road, it's
As
just
I say, yeah.
it's somebody's yard.
Right, so nobody's cutting through there.
And I think as they were going through the estate process is how they discovered that we owned it and they didn't. So
we did look at it from the point of view of, we do own property, Prospect Hill and all that, so we've looked to see if there's any chance we might, I'm always worried when we're giving away property or selling property or whatever, to make sure there's not something down the road, who knows, 50 years from now, but it does not appear that there's any conflict with any of the city plans or master planning or comprehensive plan.
And it does probably bring up that one little section that's immediately behind it between there and Forest that at some point someone may want to acquire or something along that line because it's just alleyway at this point. Any other questions?
No.
Do we have a motion to schedule a public hearing on September 26th?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Reassessment. Boy, this is always a fun word to go through.
Just did this.
We just did this, but as soon as you finish one, you got to start working on the next one because it takes a couple of years. So basically, we have to go around and assess all the properties in the city of Radford, all the real estate in the city of Radford. And so we have received a proposal from Wampler Eanes Appraisal Group. They've worked with us for the last 15 years, 2008, 12, 16, and 2020. And so this portion of the assessment, which costs $127,000, was in our budget, so we're not going to have to appropriate any money, but we need to go on and award a contract if we're going to do this. Now, what they do is they go around, they look at every single piece of property in the city and help make an assessment of the value of that property. We're having good discussions to get started early too, because we do know that real estate has changed in value significantly in the last couple of years, and we are monitoring that. I know a lot of communities that had to reassess this year are kind of in a difficult place because that may be the long-term value and maybe it's not. And we'll have at least a little bit of breathing room over the next 18 months or so as they go through the rest of this. Council members, do you all have any questions regarding the reassessment?
I just say that we've been very pleased, haven't we, David, with the services that they've rendered us in the past. And so they have a very good track record. They have a lot of credibility. And that's very important. The credibility aspect of it is extremely important when you're talking about people's taxes.
And they've done a lot of work in this area, so they're very familiar with the real estate valuations. They watch the market, keep up with the real estate transactions that occur, so we're very pleased with them as a proposer.
Yeah,
Do we see the bid amount be pretty true to the invoice amount? I notice it says does not include overage of parcels and mobile homes.
Yeah, if they have anything odd that they spend more time on a piece of property, it's hard for them to evaluate and add that to, but usually it's pretty much on the mark. We haven't had any issues with them with pricing and that kind of thing. As with most assessments and appraisers, those of you who've had appraisals or dealt with them, everything has gone up, so this is up a little bit from 4 years ago. It is a 2-year process, so about 30% of it is included in the current year's budget, and then the remainder will be in next year's, which is the bulk of the work, which will be in '24.
Any additional questions?
I move that we award the contract to Wampler Ames Appraisal Group.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We now have to look at Ordinance 1770, which we discussed a little bit earlier with the cellular cell tower agreement, and that was the property that we just talked about with changing over the tower, and it's about 1,800 square feet. The lease rate is $1,100 a month, and we've reviewed and approved the lease provisions. So council members, do we have a motion to adopt Ordinance 1770 for the lease with U.S. Cellular?
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Having heard 4 affirmative votes, we can dispense with a second reading if so desired. Do we have a motion to do so?
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. It is time to replace a 1994 fire truck. And Chief, thank you for being here this evening. I don't know if we have any questions, but we might. We had a 1994 model E1 pumper, and we now have a new truck that we're working toward, a Pierce, which will provide 1,000 gallons of reserve water capacity, possess modern instrumentation. It's needed to keep our 3 rating, which helps our insurance. It makes your insurance less expensive here in the city because it allows us to be fully responsive in the case of a fire. The cost is going to be $858,773 and takes 2 years to build. So we are trying to get ahead of price increases. David, can you talk a little bit about the property and the financing that we're going to have, the funding?
Sure, and hurry. Every time we talk about this truck, it goes up a little bit more, so it's had a couple of 7% increases in the past year. All emergency equipment, whether it's ambulances, fire trucks, even police vehicles, everything has gone up throughout the pandemic, and then now the supply chain shortage is getting parts and pieces for it. This would be something we would normally wait about another year to order, but because it has a 2-year cycle in getting parts in and getting it to us, we want to go ahead and order it now. Anticipate that we've got the reserve account, which is the aid to locality funding. It comes from the state. We get that every year. We think we've got enough in that, and with the 2-year lag, we should have plenty to pay for it. So I'm not looking right now at any financing. So it's great when you can pay cash for a vehicle. So that's the plan at this point, and by then we will be pretty far along in the debt service of the Quint, the ladder truck. So if we did have issues, we could address that later on. The company does have a provision that you can advance the money to them, but this day and age, I don't think that's such a good idea because, you never know what kind of situations you're going to be in, that kind of thing. So we might as well hold on to the money and draw our own interest. And if we decide to finance in 2 years, then we can go that route because we will have no debt in the fire department by the time we roll around this. I do recommend that you move forward. We're trying to beat another 7% increase that's in a couple of weeks. The fire department, of course, got Rodney here if you have any questions. The fire department has had a committee that's been working on the truck and picking out what's best for us. I think they've done a reasonable job. Some things are able to be pulled over from the other truck, but most things, are getting some age, and it's better just to go on and plan for new. This does not account for possibility of doing gov deals or selling it some other method. The truck that we've got now may have a $20,000 valuation. By the time we get rid of it. It is now just a very kind of backline truck, I guess you would say, wouldn't you, Rodney? We keep it up and keep it going, but to keep our ISO, it has now gotten old enough that This is the 1994 model, has come out of the system as far as ISO goes, so we can't count that towards our points. As you all know, we're at 3 now. We would love to get a 1 or a 2, so we're continuing to analyze and evaluate, work on our water system so that we can get to the point that we can have that 1 or 2 ISO rating. We've gone from a 9 to a 6 to a 3, so we've done pretty well over the years, and that's just our next goal. So we do recommend that you authorize us to advance this. Right now is just a simple motion to advance the order on the new truck.
So with this will lock us in at that $800,000 price?
Yes.
And how much do we have in that account right now, the aid to locality account?
Oh gosh, 649.
And we think we'll get another $1 million in the next year and a half?
We get about $45,000 to $50,000 per year, so that it should be enough in the 3 years that we'll have enough.
Not $1 million, another 100,000, yeah. Okay, so that should get us pretty close to where we need to go. Chief, with this, is this going to take care of just this one truck, or does this kind of accomplish a couple of needs that you all have? Because I know you've been evaluating equipment, and some pieces don't quite match up with things like they used to.
Yes, sir. It actually, it's been called a rescue engine, so it'll have the jaws of life on it.
Okay.
And all that, so it'll be a multi-function truck.
And this will probably be one that will, like you said, the other one's been more of a backup truck. This will likely be a lead for us.
It'll be a first-line truck.
And this should help alleviate some of the stress on some of the other older vehicles too, right? Okay.
And this does have a pretty good size belly on it for pumper, which, you know, that was one of the first questions I asked you on a community that's got so much water. Why have a pumper? But you never know when a line may be dry, or that allows
where the
them
fire
to
is.
start pulling,
Yeah.
or be more out in. We talked about the brush fires and things like that, and I think we have to be prepared for everything, or down by the river, or someplace where you have to lay.
Or
a
a really
long
big
hose.
fire where we may have multiple units having to respond, and then this could hit it from a different angle that maybe isn't close.
Well, and I know another component, when I was able to meet with the crew, they were concerned about being able to accommodate any support that they might need to be in regards to 81, because we are so much closer. Even though that's Montgomery County, it only makes sense that we would try to respond just due to our location. So in regards to that, I know when I would sit with you guys, a lot of the things you guys were talking about needing, we were sort of kicking the can a little bit to this truck. So could you maybe talk a little bit more in depth at some of those things that hit our list that you're putting on this truck that we were concerned about?
Just to give you a quick overview of it, the truck that we're replacing with.
Would you mind coming down to the mic so anybody that's streaming could hear what you're saying? Because I think this is important for folks to know about. Thank you, Chief.
The biggest thing with the truck that we currently have now only has 500 gallons of booster water. This one's going to 1,000 gallons. So it gives us a little bit more flexibility when we get on the scene. We don't have to find that hydrant as quick. This one has a low hose bed on it. It actually is a little bit more, sets lower to the ground, so our firefighters do not have to get up on the tailboard to get the hose off the back. So strains and sprains may be a little bit less on this truck as well. So, and like I said before, the jaws of life will be on this truck, so it'll be a multifaceted truck for us. It's a jack of all trades, master of none kind of deal. So.
Perfect.
As I understand it, there's about 45,000 that are looking at the ISO rating, 45,000 communities. And of that, only 1,900 are in 1, 2, and 3 out of the 10.
Yes.
So we're in the top under 2,000 that have a 3 or above rating.
Yes.
Out of 45,000 municipalities. That's really quite something. And that's hard to maintain. And one of the factors needed is that responsiveness to neighbors. So this will give us a better response there, which is very good.
And just like Mr. Redpath said too, our goal is to get to that 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, it takes a lot of work to get to that.
That's right.
Naomi, what'd you have?
I had 2 questions. So did I hear you say that the one that this is replacing will still be on standby as a backup?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's not useful for the purposes of ISO rating, but it's still
we can use it as what they call a reserve truck.
Right. And what David's saying is we might try to sell it. We may
Right,
get a few
right,
thousand
right.
bucks out of that we could use towards something
Right.
else that
And
the
we are
department
limited for
needs.
space.
And that's something that we'll look at too, is just, we'll kind of, fill the waters with the market, the current market, and if it's,
Yeah.
seems like we may get, several dollars out of it, we may look at that.
Gosh, with the cost of used cars, you never know. Somebody might bid on it.
It
Might pay more for it than we pay for it.
We'll sell it as a used vehicle.
That's exactly right.
We did get offered a trade-in for it, but we thought we might wait a little further towards the end.
No, I think that makes
possibility of
sense.
selling it on our own, we could get more
Sure.
money.
We wouldn't have to hold on to it too much longer. We could sell it as an antique.
And what is the lifespan of this new one?
Around 25 to 30 years.
Wow.
So,
But I mean, realistically, with all these, every 20 years, we need to look at replacement for most of them, right? Just because you run into this where parts aren't made and where there's so many improvements, it starts to question your effectiveness. Just like this. This is a much more effective truck than the one it's.
well, and it's, the fire truck industry is just like the
Yeah.
car industry. What was made back in '94 is not as safe as made now.
Sure.
So, we're gonna have airbags, all around the vehicle for the compartment area, which is, paramount for us. Windshields and stuff like that. Just the safety aspect that we're getting from this truck versus the '94 is, far by none. So,
Fantastic.
What color will it be? Because people like the color of our,
black over red.
okay.
We're sticking with that color scheme.
Okay. I know that was a lot of talk about what we were going to settle
I
on
think
that.
if I got a white one now, we would probably have to invest in a lot of rattle cans.
I
They'd be
think-
able to spray paint it.
I think so too. I think so.
All right. Any
Well-
other questions?
Yeah, since Jesse went down the path of what color is it, this one's for all the gearheads. How much horsepower does it have?
This will have, this one actually has 550 horsepower. So,
Okay.
That'll go up a hill.
yeah. Well,
All that
Gotta
weight
move
of
a
the
lot
water.
of water, yeah,
that's it. We've looked at electric a little bit, but we'll stay away from that.
yeah.
So in regards to equipment, with the replacement of this fire truck, what do you see coming in the future? What should we be anticipating?
I think with this truck, we're gonna be pretty well set for a while. I'd say at least, we may look at, our other oldest one is a '97 model. But me and Mr. Redpath talked about that, we may look at that as a refurb. Just because that truck still has a lot of good bones in it.
Right.
The structure of it is good, and it's a short truck, and it's good around the college too.
Okay.
So,
I think we're going to have to look more at ambulances and stuff too. Just-
Ambulance is
Yeah.
about every 2-year
Yep.
replacement. We got
Yeah.
one on order now that'll be here in the
So I
next
think that's
year.
probably
Well,
going to be one of our big
I just got a
areas.
phone call on it this evening. Our chassis on the one that we have on order now should be in October, fingers crossed.
Great.
So,
Great. Any other questions? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you all.
David.
Thank you, guys.
Do we have a motion to approve the contract with Atlantic Energy Solutions for $858,773?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We have been working on the courthouse building, the municipal building, doing some facility improvements. We've got two pieces to discuss tonight. The improvements to the grounds, which have been long overdue if you have driven up there, and then some improvements to the building itself, which we actually did some improvements just a few years ago when we moved down here with most of our city offices. But as you can see, there's a significant amount of gravel area that's going to be paved, which is fantastic because we have so much more traffic up there now on court days. That's a really, really busy lot, and I think that'll be a lot safer for everybody. We did get a contract, 2 bids for the RFP for paving. Adams Construction submitted a bid of $119,000 and Southwest Virginia Asphalt for $85,000. The work entails milling and replacing the section of the main lot and then filling in that gravel lot, as we said, so and striping and painting as well. So well, first, do we have any questions?
I do have a question. That strikes me as a really large discrepancy, and I remember that we've used Adams in the past for quite a few projects and been very pleased. Do we have any sense of where that discrepancy came from?
No, the Basil looked at both proposals and they matched up. It may have been, since it was a smaller project in the scale of things for them, may have been some reason a different team was going to
Timing,
do
what
it.
jobs they
timing,
have, all
a
that
number
stuff.
of different jobs. The prices looked right for us either way. Southwest, we've had used them before and have had some good experience. They do have a good reputation. The thing that's running the price up on this is the parking lot to the right of the building on the exhibit. All of that's going to be milled up and repaved. If you've
Right.
been around the backside, the asphalt's sunk in some places. It's the original pavement that was put there. The back access road is in great shape, so it's just going to be sealed. And then the area the mayor referenced across the street that's in red's the gravel lot that the city has, and that's going to now be paved, and we'll put a crosswalk over to the building. So access should be great, and then everything will be restriped. It should meet the needs for that building for a number of years ahead. So that'd be a big, big improvement. Both this one and the other project that you've got on here, both were included in the budget, but since they exceed $50,000, which we had in there, council has to do the award of the bids for both. As the mayor mentioned, we've had a number of ongoing things with the building, cleaning it up, fixing some landscape areas, things like that have been ongoing. And we'll kind of fix that exterior, and then we're going to move to the interior. This is the first phase of interior, and then we're going to be looking at doing some lowering of ceilings and things like that.
We'll get to that
some
in just
ceilings,
a
things
minute.
like that.
What is
So,
the timeline on the project? When should we?
they want to do it before winter time, so I would anticipate that once we get the approval, they should be ready to roll in October sometime.
Oh, in October.
I'll just make.
We're trying to do it on a weekend or in the evenings around courts.
The asphalt plants are open then, no problem there. And it is heavy petroleum-based product, so you're going to have an increase because of that.
Just as a note, NRVCS uses that lot for a lot of their vehicles, so we'll want to make sure that we're communicating and making sure that they are aware
we will.
of when that's going to be happening, so they can clear them out.
I'm with Naomi. I always hope it's, God forgive me, Adams Construction, because I just admire their work so much. I work a lot with VDOT, and they really do a great job. But they're way, way over what we can't make. We have to go with,
I appreciate hearing that we have been satisfied with Southwest Virginia.
I am too.
So do we have a motion to award the contract in the amount of $85,370 to Southwest Virginia Asphalt Paving?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Now, we're going to continue talking about improvements to the building, and this is actually going to be to talk about some improvements to restrooms, exterior painting, replacements of the dumpster enclosure, which I think, yeah, you can see that on there as well. Several pieces of work. Extreme Concrete was our one bid in the RFP, and the contract price was $76,360. They're going to work on that this fall. David, any thoughts, any additional comments?
This was the only proposal we got. We've got great experience with Extreme. Do recommend them for the project. And again, that's one that they'll get rolling on it pretty quickly.
Yeah, they're good.
No, I think this is good, and this continues to help. One of the things I would like to request, and I don't know if we could do it as part of this, let's replace all the signage inside that has the old logo on it with the new logo while we're doing the ceiling work and everything else, if we're able to. Are we
good
able
idea.
to?
I don't know, I'll look.
We'll find out, right?
This is, I think I will say this is a really important project just because a courthouse is inherently such a public location and not just public to our community members, but public for
Sure.
people who come from all over to attend court. So
Well,
it's
that, and then,
really
of course,
important
the treasurer's office is there with our DMV office, folks coming in to use the clerk's office, so there's a whole lot
right,
there.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's a really good project.
So do we have a motion to approve the project, to award the contract, and to approve the project?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now, we're going to do something a little different from what we normally do, but we're still going to talk through everything. We have 7 items that we can approve all at once. We can pull any of these out if there's any concern. So we'll go through them one by one, but at the end, we'll ask for a motion on a consent agenda to approve all 7, and then we will take a look at that, and then if we have affirmative votes, we can dispense with the second reading. So these are all appropriation ordinances for a variety of things. The first is for the voter registrar. We're updating our polling books. Basically, the poll book system that we've used in the past is no longer going to be available to us. It's been decertified, and so we're going to be replacing that at a cost of $14,176. Software training and support from the new company, and we've had 11 years of experience with that company. So that is Ordinance 1763.02 in the amount of $14,176. Our second ordinance is with the police department, and they've got a grant from the Department of Criminal Justice Services for $75,961. It's for school resource officers for Dalton Intermediate. Chief, would you mind coming down for these next couple, and we'll just talk through all of these. I'm going to read these next 3, and then we'll just ask you to reflect on those and give us some more information. That's Ordinance 1763.03. 1763.04 is, again, additional funding. This is for $159,404 to support our 2 existing resource officer positions in Bell Heath and McCarg. And then 1763.05, which is for $3,766 from the Bureau of Justice Association Local Law Enforcement Block Grant Program, which will give us a license plate reader program. So Chief, can you just comment on the school resource officers, and then the license plate reader?
Sure. So the school resource officer grants, as you know, when I started here in Radford, we had 1 SRO, and I kind of made a commitment to getting SROs in every school. So we end up getting a grant for 2 SROs, and I asked Rob Graham to be here tonight because I got an assist on my 4th one. Rob in the school system found a grant and said, hey, let's apply for it, let's give it a shot. We got it. So here soon, once we're able to backfill positions and get people into those spots, we'll have an SRO in every school.
That's great.
Thanks to the school being able to obtain that grant. So we truly will have an SRO at every school in Radford.
And I think that's a good partnership, and we made a commitment with you to help make sure these things happen for our schools, to keep them as safe as possible. Can you also talk a little bit about the license plate reader?
Absolutely. So tonight I want to talk about flock, and it's not about birds. It's about crime control and preventing crime. So flock is a license plate reader camera, and it's a very inexpensive camera. And one of the things we get these micro grants, and you just read it there, Mayor. We get these micro grants. This one was for $3,000 and some change, and we said, hey, what can we do that's going to have the most impact in our community related to crime control? And I got my detectives together, and we met with this representative from Flock. I'm not unfamiliar with LPR. I've had a little bit of experience with that, but one of the things that stood out to me with Flock was community-based approach to Flock. So what we mean by that is not only Flock available for law enforcement, but you can get a Flock camera at your house. Businesses can get Flock cameras. Homeowners associations can get Flock cameras. The unique thing about that is the reads and the data from a homeowners association's camera is able to be used if that HOA allows or the resident allows for law enforcement. So the bigger your Flock, the more crime you solve. So essentially, if you get more Flock cameras, you're dumping more into that system. Another thing is if your agency allows, you can see Flock cameras nationwide. So if we're looking at a Flock camera, we can see Atlanta's cameras, we can see DC's cameras, they can see Radford's cameras. So it's really a crime-fighting tool that is worth its weight in gold.
And this helps us, for example, with a situation similar to what happened in the winter months when someone had traveled from Roanoke to Radford to Blacksburg, to be identifying where that person is going when there's a person of interest there, correct?
Absolutely. So oftentimes, just with a variety of crimes, we're left with maybe a vehicle. Hey, a vehicle left, a person left in a vehicle. And what this allows us to do is to research a plate and say, hey, where did that plate hit a LPR? A lot of times you see Amber Alerts. There's a lot of Amber Alerts. Missing kids are located because of LPR systems. One of the local LPR cases that kind of hits home with me, I know probably 10 years ago now, we had the Allison Parker and Adam Ward murder at Smith Mountain Lake. And the suspect in that was caught due to a state trooper's LPR on 81, and then he was captured in Fauquier County, all because of a license plate reader. So these flock cameras are really nice. They have, you know, we're getting a Flex, what's called a Falcon Flex, so it's portable, but they also have a Falcon, which is a stationary camera. It's all infrastructure free. It's got a SIM card, LTE, it's solar powered, so there's no, you know, anything we have to do as a city. We pretty much have them come out, they install it. It's 30 days retention on it, and that's by law, 30 days retention for that. And again, it's a lot of safeguards with it too. A lot of times with LPR, people, you know, have concerns about, will it be misused? Are people gonna be researching it for the wrong things? And it's actually got safeguards where we have to put a case number, or we have to put things in there before we can search the system, so. And we've already, just to add, we've already engaged with several of our apartment complexes here in Radford, and Flock actually is interested in coming out to do a demo for them.
Well, and that's just what I was going to talk about, because we've had that issue before where there was some concern about certain areas within the community and being able to monitor that for certain activity. So
Sure.
this helps with that. So this could be set up if we chose to, but it could also go in a vehicle and in other places, correct?
It can go, it's stationary mounted or it's portable. The one that we're getting with this particular grant is a Flex, which is portable.
Right.
So if we have, you know, a certain area that we need to put it in, we can put it in that area. But very inexpensive, very, you know, able to be moved around. Even the stationary ones, we could get Flock out to move that if we really had to. The nice thing about Flock is there's no commitment. After a year, you say, hey, we don't want it, they come out, they take it up, they get rid of it for you. So.
That makes a lot of sense.
Chief, I appreciate you mentioning that sometimes people have privacy concerns about these types of devices. Can you talk to us a little bit about, I think you said 30-day data retention, and what data is actually collected?
So with LPR, there was a recent case in Fairfax County. It's a 2019 case, and one of the things that Fairfax County's case talked about was that LPR was personally identifiable data. And what the LPR is capturing is an image of a tag. Well, an image of a tag doesn't identify anybody. An image of a tag is just that. It's a picture of a tag. You have to do several more steps for me to find out that it's Naomi Huntington on that tag. So the Virginia Supreme Court actually took that case up and ruled that, hey, it's not personally identifiable information. But essentially, we're getting a picture of a tag, we're getting a date and time, and we're getting where that read was. And like I said, the courts has ruled in Virginia that that's not personal identifiable information.
Thank you.
Any other questions regarding the LPR or the school resource officers?
Yeah, I wanted to dig into that just a little bit further. So when it captures that image, you're saying it is not associated with an identity or an owner of a vehicle until someone proactively makes an inquiry to make that association?
Yeah, so we would have to, in order for us, your tag, ABC123, that alone is not going to identify you as Charlie Cosmato. It would have to be us as law enforcement or somebody that had access to another database, log into a system and run ABC123 to find out that it's you. So just the picture alone and that picture of a tag is not going to identify you.
Okay. So there's absolutely no way it will change the ads that come up on my cell phone?
Not going to have anything to do with your ads, no.
Then I'm fine with it.
Never know.
I'll keep looking at it.
Any other questions?
Yes, you had mentioned that you could expand the database to include Savannah, Georgia, for example. What do you think about that? Do you want to go broadly?
Yeah, the bigger our flock is, I think the better. So I think the more flock cameras, I've already engaged with Chief Plummer at RU. I know they're interested. And LPR systems typically aren't $2,500 or 30-some, you know, have $3,400 a camera. I mean, these things are traditionally $15,000. I know in Culpeper, where I came from, we had one that was on the back of a police car. You see those sometimes. It was like $15,000. So Flock really does the same thing, and it's, you know, you can get 5 of them.
What do you have to do to expand the area?
Just get more cameras, and Flock actually comes out and they'll map where's the best spots to put them, where you're going to get the best reads, you know, what's going to pick up the best. But essentially, you know, there's they showed us a graph from Atlanta, and Atlanta has a pretty big flock. And what they have is, you know, there's very few places near the Atlanta metro area where you would go that you wouldn't pass a flock camera. And I'll just be honest with you, if you drive up the interstate today, it's very rare you're not going to pass one.
Well, and the other piece with this too, just as we were mentioning with the incident that happened in the early part of the year, it was very important for Roanoke, Blacksburg, and Radford to have as much information as possible about activity that was taking place. This is helpful, and also publicizing that we have these things is actually helpful to deter people, because one of the issues that we've been running into is folks coming to town thinking that they would be anonymous in this community or in some of our sister communities where they're not anonymous, in places where they're well known, and that activity could take place that was not as desirable. So this is helpful for that as well.
And we know that Roanoke there's been some migration of gang members coming this way from Roanoke and from other areas. So that would help with the gang situation, wouldn't it?
So LPR is it's based off of a hot list. So you can put gang alerts in it, you can put terrorist alerts, Amber alerts, missing people. Some private folks do parking and collection efforts with LPR. Bridges and tunnels, they'll do fines and fees and stuff with LPRs. But essentially, if have LPR cameras, let's say we have this one, and we end up picking up a few others with the community, with apartment complexes and things like that. If a car passes through an LPR camera, within probably 3-4 seconds, we're going to alert in our dispatch center that says, hey, stolen car, Amber alert vehicle, something just passed through there that hit on that hot list, which we're going to be able to have officers in that area to look for whatever that hot list might be.
So it's instantaneous, but it also could be used if there was an incident at 3 in the morning, you can go back and okay.
You got it.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so lots to talk about this. Are we
Okay.
good? Thank you, Chief.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Moving on, we do have Appropriation Ordinance 176306 in the amount of $183,174 for our Community Development Block Grant funds. We have been through this pretty extensively. Charlie, to help you a little bit, since you weren't part of our little group at that time, Melissa helped run this program for us and pull all this together. There were many people who participated, but basically it's to support a significant number of projects. We have a number of sub-recipients. They all applied and were able to find some level of support within the program. And again, some key things that this has done: improvements in the business district with the facade enhancement, beautification, emergency home repair. And that is one we need to spread the word on, because we would love for more people in the city of Radford to utilize that fund on the emergency home repair. We're also going to be working on some of the equipment in Bissett Park, and then working with New River Community Action, the Women's Resource Center, Bobcat Backpacks, Radford Daily Bread, and Radical Change Commission. Are there any questions regarding the CDBG funds for this year?
I was happy to see that the facade program had significant funding, because that's going to fit in with our East Main Street efforts.
Absolutely.
I was just curious about, since we're mentioning that 3rd Avenue lot, what the status of that planning is.
The East Main,
3rd Avenue parking lot.
the 3rd Avenue parking lot. We got the plans in day before yesterday. We had been looking at several preliminaries. The one that makes the most sense, has the most parking, and makes the lot look pretty good. We're now putting numbers to that. The plan is to possibly have a work session at the next meeting, or at least the first meeting in October, that you'll be able to see what 3rd Avenue parking lot would look like, and then making sure our East Main Street concepts and all, everybody's on the same page for all those. Melissa, you have anything on 3rd? She and Jay have been working closely on the 3rd Avenue parking lot. It's going to look good, as we knew getting into that, because of the lay of the land and the utility needs and stormwater. It's not cheap. So, we're back to looking at that one again, trying to make it go with CDBG. Melissa's been able to take care of some planning money for us, and we think that can cover some of the base infrastructure needs, but probably going to need to look at some other grants, or otherwise we're going to be working on 3rd Avenue for 10 years.
Right, I was going to say, well, we may have to phase some of that, but that's a really important, and I'm glad you brought it up. The hope is that at our September 26th meeting, we'll have a big community work session on this and can bring stakeholders in. This is going to be crucial for some of our additional downtown living. locations, as well as any special events on Main Street and things along that line. So yeah, that'll be a big part of that.
That's great.
Any other questions? Okay. And then finally, we've got two additional AOs looking at Ordinance 176307 for the library. We've been very fortunate because the state has increased its support, and as such, Radford's support is additional $23,479, which brings our total to $190,068. This will be used for books, equipment, furniture, educational support and supplies. As we know, any money spent with the library is money well spent. They certainly are heavily utilized. They do all kinds of programming and get a lot of things taken care of. And then we heard earlier tonight from Sheriff Armentrout about the Sheriff's Life Skills Camp that was held. This is Ordinance 1763.08 in the amount of $2,050 for the donations that need to be appropriated. Are there any questions regarding any of these 7 ordinances?
Just this last one. Are we looking at 23,479, or are we looking at 22,490?
We're only looking at the 23,000 because the original 167 was appropriated during the city budget. So this is just the increase.
Yes,
There
but
was an adjustment in that, that's why I gave you that new amount.
Yeah,
There
then-
was an adjustment in that ordinance in the council action form and everything to reflect.
Right.
So
23,479.
Yep.
23,479. Okay, so we'll change that on the main document.
Yeah,
It's
all
already been
It's
changed.
been changed.
Yeah, you should have a new page there in front of you.
Are there any additional
On the back.
questions? Well, all of this has been well researched and thought out. All of these pretty much represent
set.
additional funds to the city of Radford outside the tax dollars that are received. So this is a way to accomplish a lot of the goals of the community without additional burden on the citizens of the city of Radford, and that's really crucial. I'm thrilled with everything that's happening, from resource officers to the CDBG monies to the library, the camp, and the registrar piece. All of this is going to help. So what we'd like to do is have a motion to approve the consent agenda for Ordinance 1763-02, 03, 04, 05, 06, and 07, and 08. And if we have that motion, then we can have a second.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Having heard 4 affirmative votes, we can dispense with a second reading if so desired. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. David, what do you have for us tonight?
Goodness, I'm trying to think which of the number of things we've got going on. First of all, thank you all for tonight's actions. We've advanced a lot of projects for our community and the betterment of our community. It's always nice when you look across the agenda and see so many things that represent so many different areas and investments throughout. So we're excited about those. As I mentioned earlier, coming up in the next couple of meetings, we're going to be seeing more on the East Main, 3rd Avenue projects as we're ready to start moving towards some serious planning and construction for those projects. We received notification over the weekend that we did receive the road program, which is very, very good for us, that we can advance significant paving really from Bissett Park all the way eastward to just about the city limits, and then that last section that we were not able to get on West Main, which is right there at the old city limits where the 4-lane becomes 2-lane all the way up to Highland Street. So we're really excited about that and appreciate VDOT's support. Those are both US Route 232 and US Route 11, so that's always good when you can submit those, and then those are projects that we don't have to use our VDOT allocation, so that will help us in our neighborhood and more corridor streets for our community. So that's real good news. I think that's the main things. We've got a lot of economic development projects underway, getting started up. So those, some that are finishing up. Some of the housing ones are selling just as fast as they can get built, so that's a good thing. We've been talking about some of those for years, so it's great to see somebody do those projects and have them advance. And then we've got a number of revitalization projects going on Main Street. So I think that's pretty much it. A lot of activities coming up. We've got a concert in 2 weeks related to tourism. Rav University inauguration and some other things associated with their new school year. So it's great to have people and students back in our community, and everything's going great. So thank you. I think that's it for tonight.
All right. Naomi, what do you have?
Just, you took the words out of my mouth. It's so nice to see such a technical work that we're doing here, and it strikes me that some of the projects that we're working on began, years and years ago, and we're now finally seeing the fruits of that labor. And we're doing the same thing right now, thinking about the 3rd Avenue parking lot, the East Main Street project improvements. I'm just really so excited to see how they grow and where they are 5-10 years from now. That's it for me.
Absolutely. Jesse, what do you have?
I just wanted to get a quick update for myself and probably the community on our Main Street funneling beautification project on the east side of town, how we're faring with that.
The downtown
median.
project? Yeah, the project that we're doing from Harrison Street to Tyler Avenue, as you all know, includes crosswalks. It includes bump outs for dining. We want to be able to get more people out on the streets. It's got bike access. Lighting would be totally replaced. We're also looking at the utility infrastructure associated with it. I want to put it into physical structure and not stuff underground. But the project is advancing well. We've got some topsoil coming in. We should be able to get the strip there that we're getting a lot of comments about how good that's going to look. It's going to take us to next spring to be able to get all the landscaping done, but it is advancing, and we should finish filling topsoil in there within the next week, provided rain will stop. Okay. And associated with the smart scale and the good structure of roads program, we are also looking at all of our stoplights. We are looking at cameras, the sensors for those, so that you're not having to deal with pavement sensors. They would be ones that would be mounted on the light. VDOT is working with us on those as they're advancing improvements to things that might happen on the interstate and traffic getting rerouted through our community. So we'll know a little bit more about on that. But everything is moving forward with hurt and profit.
Yeah, so the plan is to have a work session on the 26th.
We hope to have one on the 26th.
We hope. I know. I'm pushing.
Yeah.
I'm pushing for that because we got stuff to do.
I got to have something to show you.
The plan is to have something that we can talk about a little bit more then, and then throughout the months of October and November to continue this discussion, make sure stakeholders are aware of everything that's going to be going on, get any feedback, and then hopefully, again, we'll be advancing some of these projects over the next 6 to 12 months and be going from there. But yeah, a lot happening with that. What else do you have?
And I just, an extra little shout out to the Sheriff's Department for their life skills sessions. It was really nice to at least be a small part of it, with my husband being a guest speaker, but seeing all the enthusiasm from the kids. I did suggest, though, that he needs an age bracket for 18 and over, because there's a lot of those skill sets I probably need to go back and pick up. So I said, I think we need an 18 and over session too. Another thing about HIPS, the hidden in plain sight. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that, but they mentioned it to us with our police department. It's been a while, but I happened to see a trailer out that said HIPS. So I got a hold of the chief and I'm like, all right, remind me about this. I remember some of it. So they did have a little presentation for some of the stakeholders. I was not able to attend, but I was wanting to see if we might be able to get a small presentation at another meeting. I won't keep you tonight and we have closed session, but if we might be able to put that on the agenda where you can go over it. And I'm going to paraphrase it. You can correct me. Hidden in plain sight, it's a training program for families and parents so they know some of the maybe drug, alcohol use that might be going on in the home, but it's easily disguised and maybe not recognized from, some of us less savvy. So did I do a good job? Excellent. Okay. So anyway, I just thought it might be nice for us to get a small presentation on that. I thought it was a really pretty wonderful program. So the poor chief, he's always like, dang it, that Jesse. I'm too observant, aren't I? But it sounds like a great program. Just a quick shout out to Dr. Harshbarger here. We had a wonderful presentation. It was at the end of August, but it was a book signing with the Wharton's War, the Civil War correspondence of General Wharton and Anne Wharton, 1863 to 1865. Him and his wife hosted the reception, and it was a magnificent event, and I would encourage everyone to go out and read the book, talk about drilling down to your local history. It really is fascinating. So I would encourage everyone to get that, and just thank the Harshbargers for their genuine kindness that they continue to bestow upon the community. And I think, so I had an opportunity to speak today at RU. I was asked to speak to a freshman class on leadership, networking, and just being plain nice to your fellow humans. So I did have to fess up that I still am sometimes challenged with that in part. But it was a neat program. It was Dr. Chatham that had invited me to speak, and I would tug on him to see if he has any other opportunities for us to be a part of it. It was really great to be able to take some opportunity to speak to incoming freshmen. So I wanted to thank Dr. Chatham for inviting me to that. It's always giver's gain. I learned far more from the students than I would ever be able to bestow any wisdom upon them. But that's it for me.
Dick, what do you have?
Well, I just throw this in there. My wife today was with Dr. Pitka's class at Radford University, lecturing them on etiquette and protocol. A couple of things. Dr. Angela Joyner will be joining us tomorrow morning at the Joint Commission meeting, and she is the new Vice President for Economic Development and Corporate Education at Radford University. And she has also been, excuse me, she's been designated the lead person from the university on the amphitheater. And so we've met and, excuse me, and we'll meet again many times. But we have a lot to do there. I've also put feelers out with the Virginia Municipal League, since I'll be attending that meeting at the beginning of October. And so we'll see what we can find from members of VML about amphitheaters, because I think we can benefit from other people's interest. We also I found out that Virginia Tech has a group in the architecture college that is concentrating on the development of amphitheaters. So we will be looking at that, and that fits right in with Dr. Brett's, our new president of Radford University, who has asked us recently and publicly to work closely with Virginia Tech too. So this would fit right in with that. So we're excited about that. I also will be at VML working on finding out as much as I can about what other people are doing with the opioid money that will be coming here, and that some of which has come and some more will be coming. But we have to make it work, make it count, and make it be effective in righting a wrong. So we'll be working on that there too. And I'll report back to City Council everything I find out at VML.
Thank you, sir. Charlie, what do you have?
Well, I want to thank the chief and really Jesse, I guess, for setting everything up, because all I had to do was show up. Jesse had told me that I really needed to get out and do a ride along with our officers, and Officer Spencer took me around, and I was really interested in the flock presentation specifically because I witnessed Officer Spencer doing a whole heck of a lot of work interacting with citizens, watching cars, surveilling choke points where criminals come into the city, and trying to recognize, based on the information and constant radio chatter among the thousands of cars going by. And I watched him actually pull out of his memory while we were out there a vehicle of interest. I'll just leave it at that. I have no idea how he was able to do it. I think the technology is going to be a great asset. And I really learned a lot about the work they do, and have great appreciation for what our officers are doing in the community.
And we went in, it wasn't a weekend that we went out, and so I'm always surprised at how active our little city is, even very early on Thursday evening. And we ended up riding a little bit later than we even anticipated, because of course you never You never know when your ride is going to be done or how long you're going to be with someone. But it's always eye-opening, and I encourage everyone that's open to the community, if you really want to see what local heroes look like, do a ride-along, truly, get out there.
Yeah.
Charlie, you have anything else?
That's all.
All right, thank you. I have a couple quick things. We've had a very, very busy end of August and beginning of September. We did have Renew the New a couple of weeks ago. An amazing turnout. A couple hundred people helped come out and clean up the river. We were on the water. We were on the shore. Do we have a tonnage on that? So a lot of trash. And this is two things to take away. First of all, it's a lot, even though we do this every year, but it's better than it used to be. So the good news is we're making a little bit of headway as we continue to use it. Now, in fairness, not all of this is trash that people are just leaving behind. When we have floodwaters, when we have heavy rains, a lot of things get washed into the tributaries and into the river, so that becomes part of the issue, and we just have to work on it. Having said that, I will put out a call to our fabulous fishermen and women in the city of Radford. I personally picked up several fishing sites where there were bait cans left behind and several beverage containers and line and all that. We love the water. We want to celebrate the shore. Please help us do that as we move forward. The following Saturday, we actually returned to Hogwarts as we had Potter in the Park. And I have to brag on our vice mayor who participated in a 3-mile walk run. Not just for herself, but for Hunter as well.
Quite pregnant.
You were doing great. We had a wonderful turnout, again, over 200 for that program as well. They were reaching highs they've not seen since before the pandemic began. So that's a positive. We had Mayor Leslie Hagersmith from Blacksburg and Mayor Mike Barber join us to give out the awards and to do a little tri-community, tri-mayor, tri-wizard, tri-mile fun. I hope everybody will participate with this. This is a across the valley program that raises money for literacy volunteers of the New River Valley, but it is also a great community event as it pulls together folks from many different walks of life to participate. And that's always on the Saturday that's closest to September 1st. So this year it was September the 3rd. Down in Bissett Park. And we made full use of the Riverway and the park, and thanks to city staff for all the help that was given with that. Lots of big events coming up. The concert in 2 weeks out here on Glencoe. Let's make that a massive turnout. Should be great time with beach music. We're going to have a lot of fun that evening. We have a variety of big events coming up over the next 6 weeks. Radford High School's homecoming is coming up, so there will be a parade and game and all kinds of fun stuff with that. Radford University's Family Weekend and homecoming are coming up, and with that week, we do have the inauguration of President Brett, and everyone is invited to participate in that. The inauguration will take place on campus, so you're welcome to join the campus community on Friday, September the 30th. Hope you all can come out for that. The following weekend is the Highlanders Festival, so please mark your calendar for that. The weekend after that, we have more big events and a brand new event that's taking place the third weekend in October, and we'll have a little more on this as well. It's in conjunction with Craft and Draft, but it's actually an event that's going to be at the university and off campus as well, and it's Mountains, Rivers, and Roads, all about Appalachian culture. Radford is a significant city right here at the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, and we're hoping to do more to celebrate this region and to really bring attention to that. This is being put on by the Honors Program at Radford University, so there'll be a whole lot more coming out about that. And there's lots of good things happening. We're working with Joint Commission to try to put together a city and community university calendar, so some of the major events will be in front of you on a more regular basis, and that should help our tourism piece. Also, Mark, well, I better not say that yet. It's not gone out yet. So never mind. We'll tell you next time. I was going to tell you a little bit about our holiday parade, but we'll tell you that next time, and we'll get going from that. That'll be in December, and we'll get rocking and rolling soon. All right. December. Yes, sir. Is there anything else for the good of the order this evening? I will say one more thing for our meeting in 2 weeks. Dr. Harshberger mentioned getting some information on dealing with the opioid epidemic. We're going to be working a little bit differently here in Radford. We're going to be looking to establish a working group to work on that subject. And so I'll ask my fellow council members and members of the community, if you're interested in participating with that program to help us discover a little more about how people will be using the money that they're receiving from settlements with the opioid lawsuits and how they can best serve their community, we're interested in hearing from you, because new ideas can help us approach this in a creative way. And very much like Melissa does with the work with the CDBG money, the more we hear from people, the more we can find solutions that really affect citizens' everyday lives, that really can help put people into a great place. So at our meeting on the 26th, my hope is we can bring names to the table, establish our working group, get some additional information, and over the course of the fall, be able to put together some planning for how we might use that money. Okay, I think that's it. Council members, do you have anything else? Do we have a motion to adjourn? Do we have a second? All in favor, say good night. Good night.